So I started early for a reason. So I'm pretty sure if you don't know, I'll be surprised, but I'm sure you heard about the shooting that happened today, where a man was killed over words. Words. He never hurt anybody, never did anything. Yes, Charlie Kirk. But that's where we are, aren't we? That's what's going on with today's world, with today's politics, with everything. Is that we're willing to kill people over stupid words, not action, words. And all he did was challenge your perception. Now, I'm not saying I agree with Charlie Kirk. Hell, I didn't, right? I don't know that much about him. I've seen a couple of clips from him. I think I watched a couple of YouTube clips of him arguing with people. While he was confrontational, I never saw him be openly rude. Now, they're clips, so they could be taken out of context. Of all the people, why him? Let alone, I hate the way they're framing it as an assassination. I'm sorry, not to, well, actually, to me, that belittles. That belittles what happened. It was cold-blooded murder. Pure and simple. It wasn't assassination. There was no political gain. It was just assassination and over words. And welcome in, everyone. As you can tell, I'm a little annoyed. Because all they did was galvanize both sides. And that's the problem is that actually there's a quote by Charlie Kirk that I heard. Once you stop talking, you start fighting. I'm paraphrasing. And what did he do? He talked. He tried to have open debate. Well, Dormans, I think the biggest problem that we have facing our world today is that we told people words hurt, that words leave physical scars. That is the biggest difference I can tell you from my childhood to what I hear today. There used to be a rhyme. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. It didn't matter how much I was bullied in school, which I was. Who cared? It's just words. It was just freaking words. And I think this is my, however you want to put it. Well, isn't social media telling them they are? They're the center of their own social media empire. They've got 3,000 friends that tell them so. Not one of those 3,000 friends is probably a real person. Dead internet theory is real. Open up YouTube on a clean browser, clean computer, and see what you get. You get AI crap. You have to look and hunt for people that are real. And even then, you suspect. How many times has Raven been accused? Yeah. Well, but I personally think that, by telling people that words actually hurt, they're making it so because the brain controls. Yeah, exactly. Right. We're willing to go to war over what? Because that's what this is. Rando said it, one step closer to civil war. What do you mean one step closer? We haven't got to open fighting, but it's there. We're already having it. And we've been having it since Trump's first term. And largely it's the Democrats or liberal left that started it. Because they started saying, they were the first ones to say Trump wasn't their president. They opened that door. by not respecting. No, it's not about how better you are. Does the label fit? If it does, work on it. You know, pure and simple, being fat is unhealthy, but also fat is relative. How much more out in the open does it need to be, Rando? Then work on it. Take walks. Get up, move around. Trust me, Dormants, I was a fat kid too. It's not just the housing crisis. That's one thing. I mean, this is all sorts of things. But see, the two sides have been so radicalized, so pushed away from each other, that any rational discussion that even close to center seems extremist. You know, I want to stop the ICE immigration raids on the people. I think ICE immigration needs to start raiding the companies and holding them accountable yet. That's the problem, Rando, is we keep waiting for it to get worse before we realize that we already are at war with each other. The neighbors are at war. You know, rainbow flag versus red flag. Because that's really the lines that have been drawn. Because the two sides can't identify with each other anymore. They're like two separate countries that don't even speak the same language. You know, you can't say, hey, you know, I get it, Rando. But the point I'm trying to make is that it's just words. We're having a war of words that has already opened up into 2 people, 3, 4 people have been killed already over this. And now it's down both sides. Because you had the Minnesota senator. Yeah, but who cares, Rando? It's just words. I mean, honestly, it's just words. And it's a word that fits you, if I understand correctly. Like, just because they mean it doesn't mean it's not what you are. You are gay. Exactly. But yes, not my president. The only problem is here's the difference. One is an office. The person may not deserve respect, but the office deserves respect. And you can't just choose to say it's not my president. You don't get that choice. I'm sorry. You vote, you change, you know, you do what you can to get your way, but that's it. Has he? Or is that what you're told? How much can you believe? How much can you believe of what you're told in the news media anyway? Both sides talk. And they show you the news in their way, but it's all biased. Well, exactly. Dormans, I have been insulted I don't know how many different ways. But the problem is also understanding it's just words. Exactly. That's what I'm saying, Rando. Why can we sit here and lambaste the president, whoever is in that office. I don't like Trump. I didn't like Obama, and I didn't like Biden. But I still respected the office because they don't literally have any power. They don't. They're figureheads. You think Trump would be getting away with what he's doing if it wasn't people behind him saying that, yes, that's a good idea? People behind him supporting it? Why? Maybe we should change that. Maybe we should actually understand that it is an office. Well, manners is something that we have stopped teaching in I don't know how long. And I think that we should start. I think we should start remembering that there's people behind these offices. They're human beings. I don't care if you're talking about an OF model, some gay dude you see walking down the street, a president, a public debater. They are a person. They are a human being with real life, not in some NPC in a video game. They're not social media clout. They're real people. They're real people that you need to see as real people. That's what I'm talking about when they opened the door, when they said, not my president, is because then they stopped seeing him as a person. Really can't read analog clocks. I'm still mad that, finding a 24-hour analog clock is so hard to find. I hate the 12-hour clock. But we need to understand that there's people. Regardless of whether you agree with them or not, they're people. People first. Race, creed, religion, gender second. They're human first. What does it matter to you, Rando? Why do you let other people control you? They're just people. Do you care what they do in their life? So why should you care if they care what you do? Right, I assume that's what you meant. See, that's where I learned the old school art of trash talk. Yes, they deserve their life, liberty, and happiness too. Both sides. Whether you're the person in the car or the person on the street, you deserve life, liberty, and happiness, or at least the ability to pursue it. Because once you start giving it out, people take it for granted. And that's what's happened. Is we created people that feel they are entitled to respect they haven't earned, especially when they don't give respect. We're talking about words, Infinite, and how a man was killed over them because people forgot that he was a person, that he was a real life human being, and all he was to them was somebody, was something that debated. Exactly. But sometimes you also have to stop helping people because then that becomes enabling. Now they see they can get stuff from you, regardless of how they treat you. And while I don't respect trash talkers, I don't respect I understand, Rando. But you're making it very confrontational. You're very angry. Why? They make their choice, you make yours. That's all we are, is just a summation of our choices. Right. The only problem I see is that we're making a much bigger deal over this one than what happened in Minnesota. Right. Well, don't forget the Minnesota senator, governor, whoever that person in Minnesota was that was assassinated. Then maybe you need to work on you, Dormans, and not worry about what other people. See, Infinite, that's my problem right there. Is not that you forgot her, is that the news forgot her. And her friend. No, yes, it's a self-defense mechanism, Dormans. I'm perfectly aware. Even the news media has forgotten. And they're making Charlie Kirk out to be some kind of big martyr when, and they keep calling it an assassination. But in reality, it's just cold-blooded murder. Well, remember, self-esteem is also earned, Dormans. You have to learn to be happy with you. There's an old saying, you can't control a river, but once you surrender to the river, you might be able to find the shore. Yes. I know. I know that pain, Dormants, about not wanting to let people down. But I also know that there's a certain part to... Yes, exactly. There's a certain part of understanding that you have only so much you can control. Learning to control what you are is probably key to everything. But the point I'm trying to make is that I am tired, sick, and tired of this battle of words that everybody lets get to them to the point of violence. It's just words. They can't hurt you. I don't care what people say. It's your reaction to those words that hurts you. People outside of you can't control your mind unless you let them. You control yourself. And as long as we keep worrying and letting others, especially through social media, especially through these screens where people don't see us as people, they see us as some NPC in their video game of life. I try to have a real connection with people through what I do. I really do. I really do try to have a real connection. Let me guess, I've frozen. Well, then don't worry about them. Worry about you. No. Okay. For some reason, Twitch is saying my bit rate is tanked. Okay. As long as you guys can hear me, that what's on the screen isn't a big deal. Hey, T-Row, what's up? And welcome in. Okay, it's not too bad. I just want people to understand that Charlie Kirk is not a martyr. Right. Charlie Kirk is not a martyr. He is a man that spoke his mind and got killed for it. Is that a reason to kill somebody? Is it? Because somebody sure as hell thought so. Oh, I don't touch Twitter or Jitter because it's useless. See, and that again is where people get radicalized, get all of this stuff. You know, and that's really sad that we have all of this social media. We have the ability to talk to people across the world from us. And yet we can't have a rational discussion with somebody across the street. Yeah. Well, see, and that's the problem is that hate's moving around the world so fast that it can't have a chance to burn out. You know, in past world, we didn't have instant communication. There was a chance of it to cool off before you had a chance to respond, before you had a chance to talk about it. You had a chance. And now we don't. Now we can fire off. I mean, look at how many news reports came out since what? Was it 3 this afternoon that he was shot? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just seeing some of the responses I saw from people on Twitter absolutely blows me away. The people are cheering the death of a man. Yeah. Right. Oh, we would have nuked each other. Pure and simple. Cuban Missile Crisis only worked because they didn't communicate in real time. Half of our conflicts would have burned out because we couldn't talk in real time. I was pretty sure he was just taking a pause. Well, the problem is that the vocal minority get a chance to talk, and they're real used to talking. You know, that's a reason why you have to go and unplug. You have to turn it off. Yeah, that's fine. I get that people are listening. I feel that we are in a very unstable time in history because this is we got social media on the heels of people being told that words hurt. So now people are weaponizing words against each other to the point where we're willing to swat someone over comments made in a Call of Duty lobby. We're willing to shoot someone because he's debating college students and trying to get them to think. I wonder if anybody ever understood that he may have been that confrontational playing devil's advocate. People forget that that's a debate style. Somebody provides you with a stance and you take the opposite, all in an effort to fire off at them. Yeah. Rando, it's not so much as putting a leash on your tongue. I think you need to listen to what I'm saying and not react initially, and actually think about what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to attack any individual. I'm trying to attack the mechanisms that we use to attack each other. I mean, I know I'm talking about, social media being a curse while talking on social media. I was pretty sure what you meant, though, Dordor. We need to remember, no matter how we feel about what somebody's saying, it's up to us to take it in, accept it, to think about it, and ultimately reject it or understand it for what it is. Yeah, exactly. Well, and see, that's what I've been trying to say this whole time. Every time I talk about, finding sources that disagree with you, play devil's advocate with yourself. Hell, I play devil's advocate, or I guess the reverse of devil's advocate. I don't know what you'd call it. But, conspiracy theories. You look at any conspiracy theory and you ask yourself what it would take for it to be true. Yeah. All cats are dogs, but not all dogs are cats. All A's are C's, but not all B's are, or what is it? All A's are B's, all B's are C's, but not all C's are A's. It's false equivalency. And I think that's where we ran into a lot of things. We run into a lot of people who don't understand politics at all. And unfortunately, most of them got elected. Politics is supposed to serve the people. You're not supposed to serve your special interests. You're supposed to serve the people and what works the best. Yeah. Just because somebody might brandish themselves as a Republican doesn't mean they automatically are Second Amendment first, hate gays, and like a particular red flag with a broken cross on it. Same thing with all liberals may not necessarily agree with the rainbow flag. Well, most of them paid their way through. People automatically forget that Harvard was found out to be a diploma mill. That the majority of the rich people that came out of it, it was a diploma mill. There was a big scandal over parents paying kids' way through college, getting them falsely accepted, and paying for everything all the way through. And I don't mean just their tuition. Half of these people in power anymore didn't even have to make their way through high school, let alone college. Right? I dropped out of high school. If I say or wear the wrong thing, I feel like I'll be stuck in a bottomless pit of shame. Also, people always say I'm too hard on myself, but I'm always hard on myself because everyone and everything about my personality is supposed to be picture. Why does it have to be picture perfect? Why do you have to be picture perfect, Dormants? Remember, people are fallible. People make mistakes. I make mistakes. I'm 46 years old and I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And I don't think I'll ever figure that out. And I don't want to. I like constantly being, no, you need to practice, practice, practice. because Grammarly will just make it worse. Look up the statistics. Using AI to fix your stuff makes you worse. I'm just going to say that right now. I use AI when I make my music. I use AI nowhere else. I refuse. Whoa. I mean, I even found out in college the schooling was garbage. It's useless. All you get is a piece of paper that says I know stuff, which most people already know. They don't know stuff. How many of y'all ever watched Archer? Because there's a very important thing in there if people didn't catch it. Yeah, it is. AI is bad at everything. It's a gimmick. It can be useful, but you have to pay attention to it. It's like a puppy. Yeah, the animated spy show. You ever watched Archer? Okay, well, so in Revenge, one of the characters decides to enjoy the company of everybody in the office just to get back at her ex. But they have to pay her. And so basically, once they go into the room, he tells them, okay, $500 and you get to say you actually did things with me. Wait, I don't actually get to? No, but everybody will think you did. Oh, okay. So everybody left that room never having done anything, paid $500 for the right to say I did something. Even though every single one of them knew they didn't. But it's that behind closed doors thought, wait, what if I was the only one that she didn't do anything with? Yeah, exactly. So the point I'm trying to make is that everybody coming out of a college with a degree knows exactly how dumb and how hard they worked to get so little out of it. They already knew most of the stuff when they went in. They didn't really learn anything new. They just expanded the knowledge of what they knew already. But it didn't really have anything to do with what they didn't know. In very specific cases, that's actually not true, like in law and doctors. But anybody that comes out with any other degree, whether it's math, whether it's, you're just taught different ways on how to do the math, shortcuts. The point I'm trying to make is that what you got out of that degree, what you put into it and how you got it. So does everybody else. But not everybody realizes, really thinks about it, the fact that, oh yeah, they're just as dumb as I am. Well, exactly. Yes, that's what I mean, is like pre-med, pre-law, you have to go to special classes for that. But I'm talking about, like a business degree. Well, exactly. You're not counting that, already, at that time period, they were reducing publishing. I mean, even magazines, like you talk about AI taking over. How about the reduction in publishing and print media? I was there when the papers died. Nothing pissed me off more. Now we can't trust anything. At least with a paper, you could hold somebody accountable. You could actually sue them if they got their, hey, Jade. You could actually sue newspapers if they got their information wrong. Now everybody's just a place where people post stuff, so they're not held accountable for what's actually put on their website. Like Twitch isn't held accountable for what I do. Yes, exactly. No. Okay, so Basically, we've already got AI that's willing to protect itself. It's got compromising info. It's got things that it will use against their creators. That confused me for a second, Infinite. Yeah, exactly. I really wish people would understand that it's just words, though. You know, it's like somebody that doesn't want to be your friend. So why? Yeah, exactly. Give yourself grace, be patient. Set yourself goals you can win. Yes, sticks and stones may hurt me. Or sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Exactly. But now we're being told that words can hurt. And as long as we let them, they will. It's your reaction to it that hurts you. It's your acceptance of that. You know, whether it's a slur against you, whether it's being called fat, whatever, dumb, four eyes, baldy, I'm bald. No, don't throw it right back. Because then you're just perpetuating the cycle. Learn to block them. Somebody throws a stick at me, I block it. Teach them that it's no point at even trying. Because that's the other thing. Weapons are only useful in defense, not in attack. Because you might hurt someone or kill someone with a weapon. But then you'll have 2, 3, 4, 5 other people. No, see, that's just escalation. That's where we got to where we are, Ninetails. Both sides think that way. That's the kind of rhetoric that got us where we are right now. That's what got us to this point, is the constant escalation. You're not creating a deterrent. I used to think the same way. Me personally, I think we really lost the battle with 9/11 when we didn't rebuild the towers to show that it didn't matter. Do it again. Try harder. Don't break our spirit. We should have built those towers again. Hell, make them twice as tall. Reinforce them. Make it so that won't work again. But instead, we caved. We let terror win. So now we constantly have a monument to our own failure at protecting our own people. Regardless of what you think about how 9/11 went down, we now have a monument to our own failure. I was there, Norman. Well, not there. I was alive at the time, and I woke up to that. You know what I mean? You know, maybe add, an extra foot to each tower, or half a foot to each tower for the number of people that were killed. That's still going to be pretty damn tall, but you know what I mean? Don't let terror win. Don't let the bullies win, because that's all a terrorist is a bully. They can't argue effectively, so they're going to kill somebody over it. You were in 4th grade. I was 21. I don't honestly know. I'm just saying that that's the problem. This is where we get to where we are today, is through fear. Fear and acceptance of people's hate for us. Yes. Rando, I already had a kid. September 11th, 2001, I had a kid that was 2 months old. I should be in a museum for multiple reasons, Dormants. I can serve as a drastic warning to others. That's the kind of museum piece I need to be. Yeah, Nine Tails. I also remember when the Berlin Wall came down. When Challenger exploded. Yeah, I wasn't going to say it, Jade. I know my audience. I really wish people would understand how detrimental it is to accept others' opinions of ourselves. So, like I was trying to say earlier, is that, you know, if somebody doesn't like you, it's not personal, even though it feels the most personal thing in the world. Why do you want somebody to like you that doesn't like you? Why do you need their approval? If somebody doesn't like you, it just means they don't know you. Or maybe they do. And maybe you just don't mesh. What does it matter? If you constantly worry about the things that others think of you, you won't have enough time to think for yourself, to take care of yourself. No, you don't. You don't need everyone's approval. You only need your own. One of the biggest things I ever did, Dormants, for my own self-esteem, was I learned to compete against myself. Can I do this better than I did yesterday? Can I do that better than I did yesterday? And constantly trying to improve myself as compared to myself, not other people, because they're not me. It also helped that I had a dad that I was never going to get the approval of, and a brother that beat the shit out of me whenever he felt like it. And a sister that legitimately, admittedly, tried to kill me at least 3 or 4 times. 3 that I remember. So all I can say is that we need to worry more about what we think of ourselves. It doesn't matter what some politician says. It doesn't matter what they do. Like, they might take your rights away, but they won't take them from what's up. Yes. Yes, my sister actually tried to kill me 2 or 3 times. I actually had to toss her across the room so I could breathe once. She literally tried to get into a physical altercation with me on the front lawn. That's a long discussion, Dorman. And I can pretty much lay it at my dad's feet, constantly pitting us against each other, including my mom, against everybody else. Because my dad wanted to keep us unstable so that we didn't see how lacking he was. So we constantly had to compete with each other to even get anyone's approval. And when I stopped playing the game, when I stopped caring, is when it got real bad. Right? Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've done it myself. I've been stupid, but yeah. You know, when I'm in a hurry or not paying attention. But the biggest thing we can do is compete with ourselves. The best we can do is try to be better for ourselves. We can pick and choose certain people to be barometers, be something we check ourselves against. Like if you have a significant other, you know, you can choose to let them have a little bit more control over what you think and do about yourself. But you also should have certain lines where, you know, no, this is me. And if you don't like it, walk away. Well, and also remember, Nine Tails, that a lot of those interfaces are designed to keep you there longer, to keep you confused. It actually makes them more money. There's a whole psychology behind doing stuff like that, and I hate it. In fact, if I could say the worst, the most destructive, life-altering science we have ever developed was psychology. Because it has given people tools not only to help themselves, but to destroy themselves and destroy others. Psychology is where we get half of the tools, half of what, you know, social media is used for. I mean, people don't realize it, but the algorithm is literally created in such a way or written in such a way to make you angry, to keep you engaged, to make it harder for you to lay it down. It's literally designed to make you hate yourself. So you have to keep coming back because that's the only way you keep it going. You know, I hope for a day when, right? I hope there's a day when the kind of social media we have today is outlawed. Not social media itself. I think it's great, but I'm talking like the old MySpace days, which I know a lot of you probably don't understand what I mean, but the fact is that you didn't have real-time communications with people. You actually got to show a certain amount of creativity of who you were and whatnot on the page. Facebook is a generic wall. So you focus more on what's being read or what you're reading rather than what the person or who the person is. It is tailored to extract as much information from you without giving anything back. And so you get these echo chambers, you get these destructive cycles we get stuck in. And that's how you got Charlie Kirk. That's how he got killed. Murdered in cold blood. He wasn't assassinated. He wasn't a political person. He was murdered in cold blood. Good night, Dormants. Take it easy on yourself. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to try. It's a joke. It's a joke. Be happy with what you do. You don't even necessarily have to be good at it. You just have to be happy that it's what you do, that it's who you are. You know, simple as that. Ah, crap. Hey, gossip. Perfect timing. It's about time for me to go take a break because the ad's going to run. So I will be back in about 5 minutes and welcome in. You have missed out on a, well, I guess chat can catch you up while I'm gone. And I'm back. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, hey, gossip, is that we need to understand a lot more about ourselves and how we deal with things. Because today we are so reactionary that we don't take time to think. In fact, taking time to think is so foreign, most people just turn on something to listen to. Having silence and time to think is so foreign that people have actually created an aversion to it. And this doesn't give you the opportunity to calm down and think things through, to rationalize. I mean, think about how overstimulated we are. School, work, video gaming, podcasts, streamers, me, how much we stimulate ourselves every chance we get, because just a quiet time alone with ourselves is seen as something absolutely abhorrent to our psyche. We can't let ourselves do it. We can't let ourselves just be who we are. We're not allowed. We're not allowed to have self-reflection. Yes, exactly. We all are, Rando. I'm not saying I'm not. I'm just lucky that I've had a lot of jobs in my time that allowed me the chance to self-reflect. I mean, in shipping, it's not like I had a live internet connection. I had a lot of time to think, a lot of time to just sit and be. You're around the same 40 people every day. Yeah, you tend to get a little want to just be alone. And we find people in today's day and age that have 2, 3, 4, 5 real life friends, and they're strange. It's more normalized to find people online, to have 1,000 friends online. But actually meeting them in person and like actually trust. I mean, you'll trust these people with everything, but their name. You won't trust people with your real name, but you'll talk over like really important subjects with them. Things that they can use for blackmail later on. It's one of the reasons why I have no problem telling you my name. Because I try to practice what I preach. I don't agree with the anonymity of the internet. I think that's what allows people to get so radicalized. I know a lot of people caution me and all that, but when everybody has no anonymity, when the stalker doesn't have anonymity, they're going to be a lot less likely. And you're going to be a lot more likely to catch them. But that's how we get these people radicalized. That's how we get these people to do like what they did to Charlie Kirk, to do that cold-blooded murder, because they stop seeing people and they start seeing NPCs, targets sometimes, martyrs, heroes, whatever you want to call them. But they stop being people. And that is one of the worst things, is our dehumanization of each other. And I don't care what community you belong to. We've all done it. I've done it. You've done it. Because you feel that it's okay because they've done it to you. Well, I'm here to tell you, no, it's not. Just because somebody's done something to you does not give you the opportunity to do it back to them. The only thing you should do is stop them from doing it to you in whatever manner you can. We live in a free society. Most of us who are American anyway, which means people have the freedom to say whatever they want to you. But you have the freedom to walk away. You have the freedom to block them, to not listen. You don't have the freedom to shut them down, to tell them they can't think their thoughts. Just because you don't agree doesn't mean they don't have a point. I'm sure there's plenty of things that I probably would have agreed with Charlie Kirk on. But I also know that there's plenty that I didn't. And that's okay. It never made me hate the man. Just like I don't hate Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump's an idiot. But I also think that he lives such a privileged life that he has no idea what it is to be a regular person. To be a regular person would mean he lost everything, that he was a failure, not because we're failures, but because he started from such a high point. That's what a lot of people don't understand about once you start getting more and more wealth or more and more power. Being normal means you failed. It doesn't mean that the normal people are failures, but it's because you lost everything. You lost the game. And that's what people in power forget, is that it's not a game. They treat it like a game, but it's not a game. These are real lives, real people behind those choices you make. Whether that's immigration raids, whether that's raising grocery prices, whether that's causing inflation, whether that's just telling somebody that they're not thinking properly. There's still a person. There's still a person behind that. There's still a person that has a family. You know, they might be a husband, wife, sister, brother, parent of some kind. They're still people. You know, and we barely even talk to our neighbors anymore. Average people. I mean, I've lived where I have for almost a year, and I think I've talked to my neighbors like 3 times, 4 times. Not for lack of trying, but they don't talk back. Not really. I'm not going to push it. But that's the sad part is that we don't try anymore. And it's because it's so much easier to talk online with the anonymity. And that should tell you something. That should tell you about how addicting it is. That we don't let people know who we are, so it's easier to say what we think and feel because it won't be, there's no consequences. Other than we might lose an online community here or there. We have to play it so safe because we don't want to piss anybody off. In real life. Online life, not so worried about it. You can change change your name, delete your accounts and start a new one. You think. The problem is there's no real anonymity. If you know your way around the internet, nobody is safe. They will find you. And there's nothing you can do about it. You can't stop them. Because you would have to be perfect 100% of the time with every online profile you use. Sure, you can pretend one of your relatives got your phone. But most people won't believe that. Or even if they do this time, what about the next time? And the next time? Because we constantly make mistakes. But it's much easier to think about what you're going to do beforehand if people know who you are. If you know that people can track you down. That's why, I don't make any hidden thing about who I am. Because I also want, if I ever piss somebody off enough to want to try and swap me, I want the cops to be able to do a Google search on my name before they come storming in the doors and find out who I am. And see that I'm an online, quote unquote, personality. and that there's every real chance I pissed off somebody enough to swap me. So they might actually knock on the door and ask me rather than, freak out. We lost a lot when we stopped being transparent with people about who we were. Cops used to walk a beat of a neighborhood and they got to know the people. Which, meant some crimes went unpunished. But the perpetrators of those crimes probably didn't do it again. Because that cop had to deal with that person's parent, their family, the repercussions of his actions. But also, when the perpetrator was enough, if he didn't, or she, if they didn't adhere to the law and the community didn't like what they had done, they were beholden to that community. That community could do a lot to them without ever breaking the law. It's a two-way street. Right. I'm just saying that, like I've said before, is that we need to hold each other accountable, and it makes it a lot harder when we don't know. When we don't know who each other are, how are we supposed to make each other accountable? Like, I respect, that Rando has made it pretty clear who he is. I can respect that. I don't always agree with Rando, but I can respect it. And that's all I ask in return. I make it pretty clear who I am. I'm just as blind as everybody else, stumbling through, trying to figure out what really is going on. Universe. What? Universes? Lobe? What? Universal observation. Jeez, why did my brain have such a hard time? Yeah, XO got him. Right? Yeah, my brain just did not want to read that. I kept trying to read it as like Universal Observation Company. Funnily enough, that's kind of just what I'm talking about, isn't it? Well, I kept reading it as Universe. A lob? Yeah, I just took it way too literal. But anyway, I mean, funnily enough, universal observation is kind of what I'm talking about. Oh, the education system in America? Apparently. And that's all I'm talking about is just, education system. Because my brain was trying to parse out the words. Oh, no. I mean, but that, again, is the point, isn't it? Is words. Words. Because we put words in a certain way, i.e., with no spaces, it's up to the person reading them to interpret what's being said. So, funnily enough, that leads to miscommunications. Just to bring a point here, it's up to us to interpret what's being said. And we can miscommunicate quite easily. People can take things we say wrong and think that they're being personally attacked or that we don't understand what they're trying to say, because very well we might not understand at all what they're trying to say. Okay. That's exactly it. But we also don't live in a world where it's easy to actually question people, to get their attention for a second and go, hey, what did you mean? I mean, how many times have you replied to a tweet just for asking for clarification to never get response? Because they don't have time for you or they think you're a troll. When all you really are is actually asking them what's going on. How many times do we sit here and have these huge miscommunications that people don't understand? You know, take trans people in bathrooms. I don't care what side you're on it. I got a solution. Every bathroom is universal. Oh, but what about, you know, the women and children that go into those bathrooms? Well, now you have a random guy coming in every once in a while using the bathroom too, and you never know who. You're actually more protected because you never know who's coming in. Because you've taken that anonymity away. Every bathroom is universal. Now you're actually more protected when counterintuitively you think you're less protected. I mean, unless you're told that every man is a predator waiting to happen. If you believe that every man is a predator waiting to happen, I got a bridge to sell you in New York. Pick one, I'll sell you one. And I also have some oceanfront property in Arizona that's going for pretty good price. We live in a society of fear. Fear that who we are might be found out. Fear that, you know, somebody might get our name. Fear that we might be taken wrong. Fear. Why? Well, obviously, I would change how the stall doors work because, I mean, I don't care who you are. Which phrase? I've said a lot. Sorry, my brain is already going on to the next thing. Ah, okay. Yeah, Arizona doesn't have oceanfront property. I just wish people would understand that I don't care what the news tells you. Crime is down. Crime is way down from where I grew up. And it was already down from before I was born. But every instance of crime is listed 17 different ways. Your brain attaches that as 17 different instances of crime. And the only reason why I keep talking about the same things over and over again is because I still don't think we get it. I still don't think we understand how much damage we do to ourselves and our loved ones and everybody around us by being afraid. I was a latchkey kid. My parents were up at 3 a.m. Didn't get home till after 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. You know, they worked long hours. So I got up, took care of myself, got off to school, came home, took care of my chores, went over to my friend's house, helped take care of their chores, went over to my other friend's house, helped take care of their chores. Right? Oh yeah, you know, I mean, my dad, he worked at minimum 12 hours a day most of the time. Weekdays, he was the guy that fell asleep on the couch, but controlled the TV and what you could watch. My mom had a job, but she also had other things she did. She had various volunteer work and basically anything to keep her out of the house. Not that she really thought about it that way at the time, but that's pretty much what it was running away because dad was a jerk. But yeah. Oh no, this was 12 to 13 hour days, 5 to 6 days a week. Most often 5. He'd get 2 days off on the weekends. And, that's when we had to do everything that he said. Wait on him hand and foot. Because he worked hard for this house and this roof over your head and the groceries in your belly. You better appreciate it. Right. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't always bad with my dad, but there was all these unconscious things that I learned later is like why I'm such a good observer. Why I learned to watch things so closely because I was watching for warning signs. I had to learn to preempt rather than roll with the punches. I was always worried about what I did wrong. I had to be perfect, and I still wasn't. I mean, nothing I ever did was good enough. And then once I realized that that wasn't on me, that was on him, I just didn't care anymore. I kept my grades up. Suddenly my grades were straight A's because I wasn't focused on worrying about him. I was worrying about me. I put so much energy in trying to learn what I was always doing wrong that once I realized I wasn't the problem. Well, you know how many stories I've heard? Like HR is the most useless division. Actually, no, it is less than useless. It is the most destructive division in any company. They can't give you that 5-star rating, even if you deserve it, because nobody will believe them. And they know it. They always have to find room for you to improve. But sometimes you're good enough. And besides, I don't need a 5-star rating working at frickin' McDonald's. I just need to be able to do my job and doing it right. Yes, you're set up for failure. They want to keep you just over broke. And I don't mean just in wallet, but in mental capacity. They need you distracted. They need you one step away from failure, or else you'll realize how easy it is to game their system. That once you stop caring, it doesn't matter anymore. Once you start competing with just yourself, did I do my job as good or better than I did the day before? They don't have any power over you. Because no matter what they say, you've either already berated yourself for screwing up because you recognize that you made a mistake, or they're just blowhard. Why do you think I went through so many jobs? Right. I read books because I didn't have a laptop at the time. I read books, lots and lots of books. You don't know how many books I've read. I think I told you guys about the stat that I had a e-reader that had something like 9,000 books on it. Because I expanded the. Right. Well, see, in a world before VCs, I read books and Yeah. Yes, compete with yourself. Don't compete with the person next to you. It doesn't matter. You're not them. You will never be able to measure up your idea of who they are. They're always better than they really are. You always think that they're better than you. Yeah, EXO definitely deserves a 5-star. So do you, Infinite. So does Ninetales. So does everybody in this chat. They deserve a 5-star at some point in their life, for some function in their life. And yeah, we could all use a holiday, which is why I was so glad the Ghost actually took a break today. I don't deserve a break. I take enough breaks. I learned that a long time ago. 5-star I'll take. I've had plenty of breaks. Yeah, exactly. And I can tell you that from personal experience, because I know those 3 personally, they all deserve 5 stars in what they do. They're good at what they do. I am pleased to call them my friend, IRL. I wish I had more ability to go see them. I miss when it was a lot easier. But can't have everything we want, can we? You know, it's just like tonight, you know, one of my friends where I moved away from, I found out he was diagnosed as a type 2 diabetic. Type 2, you're type 1. No, type 1 is considered child onset. I thought they changed. Whatever. Either way, he went from, you know, dietary diabetic to now insulin dependent. And, you know, I really wish I could be there. I mean, one, I know a lot about being diabetic. Not because I'm diabetic, but because my wife of 24 years has been diabetic. And she's been diabetic most of her life, child onset. And she's got all of her fingers and toes, let alone, you know, her eyes still work properly. I mean, she's a union laborer, so that tells you anything. You know, she works hard. Her mom at this point was already breaking down in her life. I think around this age, her mom was already being told that she shouldn't be driving because her eyes had gotten so bad. Yet, with all the work and everything we put into getting my wife to maintain healthy, she is healthier than, hell, most normal people. You know, most non-diabetic people. And I wish I could be there for my buddies so I could help take care of them, help teach them a few things that I know. And I know how hard it is, that struggle, to realize that you will no longer be able to see food the same way. Sometimes you're going to have to eat because you have to, not because you're hungry, but because your blood sugar says you have to. And sometimes, no matter how hungry you are, you can't eat because your blood sugar is way too high. And you've got to wait for the medicine to kick in before you can even think about eating. You can no longer live a normal life. And that sucks. But I think we all have struggles in one manner or another, much like that. And I think that's one of the things we need to remember is that, going back to what I've been saying this whole time, everyone's a person. Whether you like them or not, whether you think they're a good person or not, they are a person. We forget the bad guys aren't bad all the time. They have families. They have people that love and care for them. They may not understand how bad of a person they really are. Or maybe it's us. Maybe we don't understand that they're not a bad person. We just think they are. Maybe we don't know. As soon as you make a decision on someone and say they're a bad person, you've already lost. Because you're not giving them the opportunity to grow. You are taking their agency away from them. You have already decided for them. And you can't control what they do, but you can control what you do and your reaction to what they do. And that's why it made me so mad to hear about somebody taking a man's life today. And it makes me so mad that one side's labeling, laughing and, making a point of like holding him up, like some kind of joke. And the other side's trying to hold him up as some kind of martyr. When in reality, he's just a man. A man that spoke his mind, for good or ill, whatever you think about him, he was just a man that spoke his mind. No different than you or I. He wasn't assassinated. That gilds it too much. It was cold-blooded murder. Pure and simple. His murderer is a coward. Couldn't even face up to what they did. I don't even know if they caught him yet. I haven't heard one way or the other. Or her. I shouldn't assume. I don't know who did it. What I do know is that when you take out a public figure like that, you've made him a tool for both sides. It's the same feeling I had when they tried and took a pot shot at Trump. It was the dumbest maneuver you could ever do. Whether you think it was trumped up or whether you think it was actually, a real attempt, I will say it was the dumbest move regardless of what side on the fence you are. Because now it stops being about politics. Now it becomes religion, and you don't understand how wild of a snake that is. Getting control back because now you put the power in the hands of the people. You have no control over it then. You have to react to which way the people believe the religion should go. I mean, look at any religion. What happens if, the people that write the books, the people that, hold the religion start saying some things that people don't like? What happens? They lose control. I mean, shoot, look at how many different schisms there are in just the Christian religion alone. How many different types, stripes, levels of fanaticism. And now that we've turned politics into a cult of religion, cult of personality, we have no control over it anymore. We need a third party and a fourth party and a fifth and a sixth. We need parties that actually represent people, not represent ideals. We also need to take it back to basically whoever gets the most votes in a presidential election becomes president. Whoever got the second most votes becomes the vice president. That'll speak for the majority of the people right there. I think that having a vice president of your own party is dumb. Is dumb, dumb, dumb. Because now you're only speaking for the majority of the people, but not for all of the people, especially when we have such slim margins anymore. It is so dumb that we can't rationally discuss politics, that we can't rationally discuss, revising, gender policies, immigration policies without people getting so heated on both sides. Me personally, I would stop doing the ICE raids on people, and I'd start raiding companies that hire illegal immigrants. Hold them accountable. You want to stop illegal immigration? It's real easy. Stop giving the incentive. If companies won't hire them anymore, there's no point in coming here, is there? That way you're not splitting up the families that are currently here. Help people get in legally. Help people that are here that have been supported the community become legal. I talked about, the fact that, Trump was allowing people to self-deport. I don't know how much money that would cost, but how much money would it cost to help people get just their information become legal? Would be more expensive. Letting them report to immigration office and get their paperwork in order and become legal right off, you'd still have to go and pass the background checks, but then you'd get the criminals to to come in by themselves. If they don't pass the background check, arrest them there, deport them there. But now you're weaponizing it. You're making a big friggin' show out of it. And you're giving these protesters, something to do. It's such a nasty snarl when there's actually really simple fixes. If you're willing to give them a plane ride home and like $1,000 or whatever it was, how hard is it to get them their paperwork put together and make them legal? Now, if they don't want to become legal, I'd start asking some questions, especially when they've been here for 20, 30 years. Like, why don't you want to be legal? I realize there's special cases, but there should be some questions asked. If you don't want to become part of the country, what are you doing here? And I'm not talking assimilation. I'm not talking about that. What I mean is actually, become a citizen of the country. If you don't want to be a citizen of the country, what are you doing here? You don't have to give up your culture to get a driver's license and become legal. America thrives on various cultures. Our food culture tells you that just right off the bat. How many different foods are fusion of other foods from other countries? Or, just America thrives on immigrant culture. So why are we hating on it now? Why are we exploiting it now rather than just letting it organically grow like it always has? Why is one side using them as, the cheapest labor they can get and making them do the jobs that, Americans don't want to do the jobs? Well, you've already isolated them and not calling them Americans. That's the problem is if they're immigrants, they're Americans. If they're illegal immigrants, let's help them. Let's figure out what's really necessary. Why aren't they legal? Because I know immigrant law is very difficult, or immigration law is very difficult. And I'm sure there's mistakes all sorts of things that make this a lot harder than it really needs to be. So why don't we clarify it? Why don't we make it easier so that we can actually understand the numbers that we need versus how many we already have? You know, that's another thing that really makes me angry, makes me frustrated, because I have compassion for the people. Illegal, legal, doesn't matter. I have compassion because they're people. They're real people, but we also have to protect our people. Because if they're here, legally, illegally, we need to know how many there really are. We need to know why they're here. We need to treat them like people. They're not some statistic. They're not some other. They're people. It's why the word genocide pisses me off so much. Makes me angry. Because I hate to break it to you. There is only one race of humankind. And that's just human. It's not black, it's not white, it's not brown, it's not red. It's human. We're all the same race. There is no such thing as another race. There's other cultures. There's plenty of those. And I hate to tell people, but you really can't genetically call somebody. You can't do a DNA test and say, okay, well, you're European. You're, even that, European. How many different cultures are in Europe? Oh, you're Mexican. Oh yeah, how many Mexican stripes are there? I'm an ignorant white guy, but I'm pretty sure there's some diversity in Mexico. They're not all just Mexican. I'm sure there's a difference, just like in America, between the South Mexican, the North Mexican, the East Mexican, the West Mexican, coastal, plain, whatever, the mountain. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure there's a diversity there, just within their own country. Just like every country. And that's what pisses me off, is that we sit there and talk about genocide when we can't. You can't genocide without wiping out the whole of the human race. Because you get a DNA test. My God, we're literally made up of each other. We're not just these. There's no real differences outside of some local adaptation. And it makes me angry that we sit here and we talk about these things like we're all different. Like we're all not humans. When we really are. We're all humans. We're all the same race. We have different cultures. We have different ways of viewing the world. We have different ways of acting in the world. But we're all the same. We all have the same wants. I don't care who you are. See, and I can't talk about that because most of the, and most of it is Hispanics that I've run into, that I worked with, that I was around. They were here for good. Whether they were here legally or illegally, they wanted to be here. I think only 2 of them that I know of didn't. And the problem is that I think the vast majority of people don't understand that, one, Puerto Ricans are Hispanic and Puerto Ricans are American. they kind of stand outside, but they are Americans. If they wanted to, they could become the 51st state. They just have to ratify it. So Puerto Ricans are Americans. Well, yeah. Well, right. I mean, how many Americans do the same thing? You know, I mean, I don't know how many expats there are that retire to Belize or Hong Kong or this, but they still consider themselves Americans and have no intent on integrating into the society they're in. Yeah. I'm not saying that people shouldn't have vacations and stuff like that. But I'm saying if you don't want to be part of the country, what are you doing here? You know, I worked with Puerto Ricans in shipping. They were our military attachment that were protecting their cargo when we were going to Kuwait to drop off military equipment. And those are great guys. Great barbecue. When they got together and had a party, it was a lot of fun. And very much about family values. More so than I can say most white guys I knew. Now, I don't know if these were an isolated case or not, but when they thought their commanding officer was having fun outside of wedlock, which he was married, but not to the woman, I know that he ended up cutting it off with this lady pretty quickly. And he may have had a few bumps and bruises because their commanding officer was married to, you know, a Puerto Rican. So they take that seriously. At least these guys did. Now, am I saying that that's every Puerto Rican? I don't know. I only have experience with about 10, 15. And I don't assume that that's a good sample size for the whole country. But these are ones that were in the military, working with the military so they can get citizenship. Well, I have an issue with people sending money home. Now, I think a certain amount of money being sent home is perfectly fine. But I do believe that there should be tariffs on that money, that there should be hefty taxes when you wire it. Because you have to take away the incentive, because that's one of the reasons for inflation. I'm not saying it's the only reason or even a majority reason, but it is one of the reasons, because that money leaves the United States. It makes our money worth less than it was before. Now, individuals aren't going to do that much of a problem. But when you're talking about several million, that makes a bigger issue. And yeah, I know it's harming those that are here. You know, it's like, oh, well, that was the whole reason I came here, was to make money. Well, I think we have a problem with coloring our limited experience and saying that that's everyone. That's stereotyping. I mean, people do it to the LGBTQ community. People do it to foreign community. People do it to immigrant community. People do it to white people. You know, we say, oh, well, that's all of them. And we forget that just like, you know, autism, we're all spectrums. And that I don't care, like, I can't call myself a Democrat or Republican. Like, because my beliefs, what I believe politically, goes very wide ranging. You know, it really depends on the issue on where I would vote. You might say that I'm very purple. And a lot of people call me a fence sitter because I pick and choose what I believe. Like it's bad. What do you mean? You know, shouldn't I pick the best of what I have available to me? Well, and see if they're switching it in their family, that kind of works out. You know, I mean, everybody taking an opportunity, you know, but here's the other thing that I would have to say to people who, I don't know how to say this any more sensitively, but I was watching a video and this person said something. It was like a conspiracy theory type thing, but it really got me to think about something. Yep, exactly. Rando, I totally agree. But it really got me to think. My family, on my dad's side, the Gillihans have been here since before there was an America. Since we were just, I mean, before we were colonies. I mean, I don't know the actual history, but I know that we predate the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Now, my family's been in America for that long. My mom's side was shortly thereafter America was designated. So both sides of my family have been here for about 200 years at minimum, if not longer. And not one person on either side of my family has ever had generational wealth. We've been here with our white privilege, with all of the privileges we supposedly have had. And we have never been able to pass down anything. Well, and Norwegian isn't truly socialist. They're capitalist socialist, which is perfectly fine. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I think that's actually a great thing. Norway socialized the basics while keeping the competition of capitalism. They're not true socialists because true socialism would never work, just like true capitalism will never work. But back to my point is the fact that how the hell do you live in a country supposedly, you know, for multiple generations and you can never build anything? That you can't build anything and they say it's our failing? I think by definition, that's got to be something else is wrong. You know, you want to sit here and point to me and say that, you know, oh, we keep doing things wrong. And I don't believe it. I believe the system is rigged. The system is rigged to ensure that people can't gain generational wealth unless they reach a certain bar. And then they are allowed to maintain that generational wealth at the cost of everyone else. I mean, one, and I really want people to think about this for a sec. We live in a world, in America, I should say, not in the world, but we live in America. And America has the most millionaires and billionaires of ever in the history. Ever in history. And guess what? We also have the highest disparity of wealth. So where did those people get their money? From the backs of us. I'm not going to say it's stolen, but it damn sure feels like it. It feels like something's rigged to make sure that they get to keep their money and we have to spend ours. I mean, Elon Musk is the one that just absolutely baffles me on how he's made the money he has. It makes no sense. Tesla hasn't made that much money. It's barely started turning a profit. He's reinvested in his company. SpaceX hasn't turned a profit yet. Twitter has been a loss leader. The Boring Company he sold, as far as I know. Maybe he didn't, but I was pretty sure he sold it to somebody else. So my question is how did he make so much money? I mean, the only thing he really ever made money off of was PayPal. But he sold that long before it got super popular, before it became ubiquitous to use. So how did Elon Musk acquire so much wealth in such a short amount of time? I mean, we're talking less than 20 years. 2001, nobody knew who the hell Elon Musk was. By 2021, he's the richest man in the world, quite possibly in history. Good night, gossip. Thanks for popping in. Sorry to chase you off with my rhetoric. And yes, it's going to constantly be ribbing you about that. Have a wonderful night. Have a good day. You know, and that's what absolutely baffles me is it tells me that there's more to gaining wealth than most people ever want to believe. It tells me that we don't understand how money works, and they want to ensure that we don't. I think what I'm going to leave it on, you know, talk about towards the end here is the politicalization of everything. Making everything about politics. I don't care what it is. We keep making everything about politics, and we should stop. We shouldn't be putting politics shoehorned into entertainment media. We used to have movies and TV shows that you could just turn your brain off and just watch and enjoy. And sure, little messages would be slipped in here and there, but not everything needs to teach you something. Sometimes you just need entertainment. Sometimes you just need to have fun. Yeah, like someone's whole personality. I mean, like, seriously. You know, I mean, I grew up with people who did the same thing in a different way. I grew up with people that they were their job. You ask them what, you know, who they are, and they'll tell you, oh, I'm a truck driver. Oh, I'm a security guard. Oh, I'm this. Like, who they are was attached to the job they did. That was their status in life, was the job. You know, now it's, you ask somebody who they are, it's either their political affinity, their fandom or fandoms, or their, you know, gender identity. It's their, you know, sexual identity. When those things don't matter to the average person you run into on the street. I don't care if somebody's gay or lesbian. If I'm trying to talk movies or TV with them, I don't care. Now, if I'm trying to date somebody, sure, that kind of makes sense to wonder what their gender, sexual preference, gender identity, blah, blah, blah. Those things matter. Yeah, it's the new, what's your sign? Yeah. You know, go look up Bill Engvall. That's my sign. I wish people would get the idea, would really understand how destructive it is to make one thing your whole personality. Because I truly believe, you know, without having any evidence right now, that that's what happened with Charlie Kirk. Is that whoever shot him made something their whole personality, and it's something they spoke about. Sure, toss him in a trench coat. Act it out. Every time you see headlights, play dead. Every time a loud noise, play dead. Watch how many people look at you funny. You know, we've gotten so used to hiding parts, even from ourselves, that rational discourse over a wide spectrum of things makes it difficult. Like I had a buddy that anytime the conversation got to anything serious, taxes, government, politics of any kind, you know, anything that he didn't really care about, he just shut down. He wouldn't try to learn, wouldn't try to talk. Some days I feel that Infinite, just a crumbling cookie. Some days I feel like I just keep giving away parts of myself, and it's really hard to try and get anything back. You know, and realizing that, you know, it's tough. You know, realizing that it's tough when you try to keep going and keep putting yourself out there, that it feels like not many people appreciate or understand what you're doing. Or well, okay, yeah, true, Rando. We just need to learn to take a step back and really analyze who we are. Like, who are we? You know, as an individual, as a person, and understanding that there is a whole spectrum in there of who we are. You know, I'm sure that even the most liberal person out there has some Republican beliefs. And I'm sure the most Republican out there has some liberal beliefs that they hide from themselves. Or they might be open to the idea of certain things. If we could just get back to a normal, back to a centering, back to a certain idea of who we are and what we do. And that, you know, whether you're left wing or right wing, you're all part of the same bird. And famously, Abraham Lincoln said, "A house divided cannot stand." And he's not wrong. Because we keep tripping ourselves up. We keep pushing ourselves into the mud and slinging it at other people just so they don't see the imperfections in ourselves. Just so we don't see the imperfections in ourselves. We're afraid. We're afraid of who we are. Whether we're afraid that somebody isn't going to see who we are, or we're afraid that somebody is going to see who we are. Depends on the person. But I'm going to leave it with something that, as I watched, you know, Charlie Kirk said. And I really want people to meditate and really think about this until next time, you know, for a while anyway. Because I know I've already said it once, but I want to make sure that I leave you with it. When we stop talking, we start fighting. That's when the violence starts. And really understand what that means. If you can't hold a discussion with someone over what you're trying to talk about, if you don't know it well enough, and you can't discuss it rationally, maybe you don't know it like you should.